I'm going to demonstrate for you how to sew on a button. I feel like everybody needs to know how to sew a button. And what you're going to need to do this are 2 strands of embroidery floss threaded on your needle with a knot tied in the bottom of the tail and slack. You need a 2-hole button. This is a large one, and I chose this so it would be easy for you to see what I'm doing. You need a piece of muslin, and it could be a scrap piece that you're using. And you need a straight pin. This straight pin has a little yellow ball on the top. Yours may look kind of like a nail with a flat end on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the spot on my muslin where I'm going to sew the button. Sometimes when people lose a button, they don't know where to put it. So we're going to mark it by pushing the straight pin down, and then from the other side, I'm going to push it back up. You can choose any place on your muslin. I just chose that spot. I have my needle threaded, and what I want to do first is bring my needle up from the underside and pull until the knot is against the back of the muslin. Now, I want to sew an X on this spot to mark where I'm going to sew the button. And I want this to be a very small X. So I'm going to start by making 1 stitch. And to complete that X, I'm going to come up and I'm going to cross back over it. Now I know where I'm going to sew the button on, so I can take the straight pin out. So remove your straight pin. Now I want to poke my needle up right where that X is. And now I'm ready to start sewing on the button. So I want to go through the buttonhole and I'm going to pull so that I'm ready to start now. Now, I want to place my straight pin across the top of the button to allow for a thread shank. Thread shanks are necessary because they provide space for the fabric to sit in between the button and the clothing item when your garment is buttoned. So I'm going to place that straight pin across the top. I'm going to hold it with my thumb, and my index finger is going to be underneath. So you're going to have to hold this up in the air when you're doing it. So what I want to do is I'm going to poke the needle down in the buttonhole right across from the first one. Just like that. I want to do this again, so I'm going to come up in that first buttonhole. And then I'm going to poke my needle down a second time on this side. So I've gone over it 2 times now. You want to go over it 3 times. So let's do that one more time. So I'm going to come up and down to make 3 stitches total. Okay, so now I'm here. And I want to remove my straight pin. I'm finished with it. So what you'll notice is the button's just a little bit loose, which is exactly how we want it. And my needle and thread are coming out the back. But I don't want to tie off yet. I want to secure that thread shank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke my needle up underneath the button. I don't want to go through the buttonhole. So I'm going to poke my needle up. I'm going to grab that and pull. And now it looks like this. So my thread is coming up under here. Now what I'm going to do is I want to wind the thread around the threads under the button to secure my thread shank. So I usually gather my material like this. I'll do that so you can see it. And I want to wrap it 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So now you can see I've secured that thread shank. Now, I'm here. I've just wrapped that thread. So the next thing I want to do is I am going to poke my needle and go through to the back, and I'm ready to tie off. So what I'm going to do is make a big circle with my thread. I'm going to put this through, and I'm going to put my finger down on top of it and pull until a knot is formed right against the back of the muslin. Now I'm ready to cut off my extra, and my button is finished.